Yo, what's good, true crime crew? Buckle up, because we're about to dive deep into a case that'll hit you like a sledgehammer. This is the story of a brutal crime inside the walls of a women's prison, exposing a twisted web of corruption, abuse, and betrayal that'll leave you speechless. It's a gut-wrenching tale, and I'm breaking down 3 chilling truths that unravel this mystery. Stick with me for the next 25 minutes, because this one's gonna shake you to your core. Let's get into it. Truth number 1. A horrifying discovery in cell D214. Imagine this. It's 6:12 a.m. on March 14th, 2022, at Northwood Women's Correctional Facility in Whitmore County, Illinois. The air's thick with that eerie early morning silence, the kind that makes your skin crawl. Correctional Officer Melissa Harper is doing her routine morning rounds in Unit D, calling out names, checking cells. She reaches cell D214, home to inmate Clarissa Monroe, and calls her name. Nothing. No response. The cell is pitch black, no light from the ceiling fixture, which is odd. The electronic locking system in Unit D has been down for weeks, so Harper grabs a manual key, unlocks the door, and steps inside. What she sees freezes her in her tracks. Clarissa Monroe is lying on the lower bunk, completely still, her blanket pulled neatly up to her chest, arms resting at her sides like she's just sleeping. But then Harper notices it, a dark, continuous bruise circling Monroe's neck, like a shadow of violence etched into her skin. Her heart races.
This isn't right.
She spots more bruises on Monroe's upper arms and inner thighs. The bedding's undisturbed, no signs of a struggle, which makes it even creepier. The overhead light bulb? Gone, leaving the socket bare. Harper's instincts scream trouble. She radios for medical assistance and calls for the shift supervisor. By 6:16 a.m., a facility nurse arrives, checks Monroe's pulse, and confirms the worst. She's dead. Pupils fixed and dilated, skin cold to the touch. Unit D goes into immediate lockdown. Nobody in, nobody out. Inmates are ordered to stay in their cells, non-essential staff are cleared, and the Whitmore County Sheriff's Department, along with the Illinois Department of Corrections Special Investigations Unit, SQ, rolls in to secure the scene. Here's where things get shady. The hallway surveillance camera right outside cell D214, offline since the previous evening, marked awaiting repair in maintenance logs. The cell door lock shows no signs of forced entry, meaning whoever got in had access, either through a master key or the malfunctioning electronic system. Investigators classify Monroe's death as suspicious, and the gears start turning on a case that's about to blow the lid off this prison. You feel the chill yet? This isn't just a death, it's a crime scene screaming cover-up, and we're just getting started. Truth number 2. Evidence builds against a predator with power. The next day, March 15th, the autopsy hits like a bombshell. Chief Medical Examiner Dr. Alan Forsythe lays it out in grim detail. Clarissa Monroe was manually strangled. That bruise around her neck? It's a wide, dark contusion, consistent with someone applying sustained pressure for several minutes, not a quick grab. Fingernail scratches along the left side of her throat show she fought desperately to pry her attacker's hands away. Bruises on her upper arms match a pattern of forceful restraint, like someone pinned her down from the front. The internal exam is even more damning. Deep hemorrhaging in the neck strap muscles and a crushed larynx confirm the brutality. Dr. Forsythe estimates the time of death between 10 p.m. and midnight on March 13th, 2022. But it gets darker. They find semen in her vaginal canal, with intact sperm indicating recent sexual activity, non-consensual, no condom used. And then the real kicker. Toxicology reveals midazolam, a sedative stocked in the prison infirmary, in her system. Inmates don't just get their hands on that. She was drugged, assaulted, and killed, all in her own cell. Forensic techs sweep cell D214 and uncover more. Fibers on Monroe's blanket matched the material of staff-issued uniform jackets, not inmate clothing. The missing light bulb socket yields a partial palm print, and later lab tests confirm it doesn't belong to Monroe. The cell door's clean, no forced entry. Whoever did this had unrestricted access, knew the camera was down, and planned every move. The SIU and sheriff's investigators zero in on everyone in Unit D that night. 4 correctional officers were on duty during the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift. Sergeant Douglas Vance, the supervisor, and officers Keith Donovan, Trina Bell, and Mark Rivera. All 4 submit written statements claiming it was an uneventful night. They say they saw Monroe alive at the 8 p.m. head count and asleep during the 4 a.m. count. But their stories fall apart fast. Rivera claims he did the 4 a.m. check, but Bell's logbook has her initials next to Monroe's cell. When asked about the camera outage, their timelines don't match. Rivera says it was down for a week. Bell says a couple days. Vance claims it happened that night, and Donovan says it's been out since mid-February. Maintenance records back Donovan. The last footage from the Unit D hallway is dated February 18th, nearly a month before Monroe's death, with awaiting parts notes signed by Vance. Inmates start talking when the STU promises confidentiality and potential transfers for safety. 3 housed along Monroe's corridor report seeing a male officer enter her cell after lights out. 2 hear the door open and close, followed by silence. 1 swears she recognized Vance's voice. The inmate directly across from D214 gives the most detailed account. Around 10:30 p.m., she saw Vance at Monroe's door, speaking quietly. Minutes later, the door opened and she heard a thump, like someone fell or was pushed. The hallway light near Monroe's cell had been out for days, cloaking the area in darkness. Investigators dig into Vance's personnel file and find a trail of red flags. Over 5 years, multiple complaints from female inmates alleging verbal harassment or inappropriate contact, all dismissed for insufficient evidence. Then the lab drops a bombshell. The palm print on the light bulb matches Vance. He claims he removed it weeks earlier during a maintenance check, but there's no work order and protocol requires 2 staff members for such tasks. The fibers, the print, the DNA, the sedative, the camera outages, it's all pointing to one man who held all the power in Unit D. You seeing the picture yet? This wasn't a random act. It was a predator exploiting a broken system. Truth number 3. Justice strikes, but the system's rot runs deep. The investigation kicks into high gear, and the floodgates open. Inmate Teresa Grant, serving 8 years for burglary, comes forward with a chilling story. In late 2021, Vance called her out of her cell after lockdown, claiming she'd help with inventory in a supply closet. Once inside, he switched off the lights, blocked the door, groped her, and threatened to extend her sentence if she talked. She reported it to a case manager, but 2 days later, she was thrown in solitary for 30 days on what she says were trumped-up charges. After that, she dropped the complaint. 3 other inmates share similar stories: assaults in the laundry room, a storage shed in the exercise yard, and the showers, always in unmonitored areas with cameras offline or lights removed. 2 saw Vance unscrew light bulbs beforehand. Inmate Angela Rivers hands over a letter she wrote but never mailed, detailing Vance's harassment and his boasts about making problems disappear at Northwood. Another inmate, using the alias Renee, overheard Vance 2 nights before Monroe's death, arguing with another officer and saying, "She's getting too bold. I'll take care of it." Renee thought it was about discipline. Now she's sure it was about Clarissa, who'd filed grievances against him. Officer Mark Rivera breaks ranks, requesting a private off-site meeting with investigators. He admits he saw Vance enter Monroe's cell without authorization that night, using a master key, and the cell light went out soon after. Why didn't he report it? "You don't cross Vance," he says. People who don't last here. Rivera paints a picture of Unit D as Vance's personal kingdom, where he ordered officers to falsify logs, backdate maintenance reports, and bury inmate grievances. Refusal meant bad shifts or sudden write-ups. Another officer, speaking anonymously, confirms Vance controlled the camera maintenance schedule, telling contractors to drag out repairs. Procurement records reveal high-value invoices from Brantley Security Systems signed by Vance for work that was never done. The owner admits to cash thank you payments for slow fixes. Pharmacy tech Rachel Yates testifies that 4 vials of midazolam went missing in the 3 months before Monroe's death, and Vance had unsupervised access to the medication storage room. On April 4, 2022, investigators bring Vance in for a tense interrogation. He sticks to his story. Saw Monroe at 8 p.m., no contact after. They show him the palm print on the light bulb. He says it's from a maintenance check weeks ago, but there's no log and protocol wasn't followed. Then they hit him with the DNA, matching him to the semen. His composure cracks. He claims he and Monroe had a consensual arrangement for months, trading sex for privileges, but she got difficult and threatened to report him. He says he went to her cell to talk. She yelled, and he grabbed her neck to calm her down. The autopsy: sustained pressure for minutes, not a quick grab, and the midazolam in her system blow his story apart. He denies knowing about the sedative, suggesting another inmate gave it to her. When confronted with inmate testimonies about his pattern of abuse, he calls them liars looking for a payout. After 4 hours, he's placed on administrative leave, and on April 6th, he's arrested at his home for first-degree murder, aggravated criminal sexual assault, and official misconduct. The trial begins September 6, 2022, in Whitmore County Circuit Court. Jury selection is intense. Over 100 potential jurors are questioned, many dismissed for hearing news about the case. Prosecutor Lisa Garner seeks jurors who'll weigh inmate testimony fairly, asking, "Do you think a correctional officer's word is automatically worth more than an inmate's?" Defense attorney Mark Ellison pushes for skepticism of circumstantial evidence, hammering that DNA and palm prints don't prove intent. By September 12th, a jury of 7 women and 5 men, plus 4 alternates, is seated. In opening statements, Garner lays out a damning case: DNA, palm print, midazolam from the infirmary, inmate testimonies, and Vance's control over security outages. This was an assault carried out under the cover of authority, and it ended in murder, she says. Ellison counters that inmates have motives to lie, the sedative could have come from another inmate, and the death might have been an accident, not premeditated. The prosecution's case is relentless. Dr. Forsythe testifies that Monroe's strangulation required sustained force, inconsistent with Vance's accident claim. The semen and midazolam point to a planned assault. Crime scene tech Jamie Patel confirms the staff jacket fibers and Vance's palm print on the light bulb, noting its clarity suggests recent contact. The inmate across from D214 testifies she saw Vance at Monroe's door at 10:30 p.m., heard a thump, and confirms the hallway light was out. 5 other inmates describe Vance's pattern of assaults in unmonitored areas, 2 recalling him removing light bulbs. Yates testifies about the missing midazolam and Vance's access. Maintenance records show Vance signed off on fake repair invoices. The defense tries to poke holes, suggesting consensual contact, questioning inmate credibility, and raising contamination concerns, but the evidence stacks high. After 3 weeks, closing arguments seal the deal. Garner ties it all together. There is no consent in a locked cell, in the dark, under sedation. Ellison argues the state's case relies on assumptions and biased witnesses. The jury deliberates for 5 hours, reviewing forensic reports and testimony. On September 30th, they return guilty of first-degree murder, aggravated criminal sexual assault, and official misconduct. Vance shows no reaction. Monroe's family embraces, tears flowing. Judge Ellen Faraday sentences him to life without parole for murder, 30 years for assault, and 10 for misconduct, all consecutive. A gross abuse of authority against one of the most vulnerable, she says. But the case doesn't end there. It exposes a rotten system. The Illinois Department of Corrections audits all prisons, uncovering chronic camera outages and lax oversight. Warden Charles Henson resigns, 3 supervisors are out, and 2 contractors are banned. By early 2023, Illinois passes laws mandating tamper-proof cameras, an independent ombudsman for inmate complaints, mandatory sentences for staff inmate assault, and public reporting on security outages. The DOJ launches a civil rights probe into Northwood under the Prison Rape Elimination Act. Advocacy groups rally, citing Monroe's case as proof of systemic failure. Former inmates file civil suits, alleging abuse and negligence. The case becomes a training example for law enforcement, a warning of how unchecked power can fester. All right, true crime fam, that's the Clarissa Monroe case. 3 truths that ripped open a prison's dark secrets. A murder, a predator's reign, and a system forced to reckon with its failures. What hits you hardest about this? Drop it in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more cases that cut deep. Let's keep exposing the truth.
Peace out.